The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation, the disappearance of 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard, a girl who went on a road trip with her mom, but never came home. Here's the story. 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard vanished without a trace after leaving California with her mother, Ashlee. What began as a quiet road trip from Santa Barbara County turned into a mystery that has gripped the nation. Investigators say Ashlee rented a car and drove halfway across the country to Nebraska, but somewhere along the way, Melodee disappeared. Days later, Ashlee was found alone, and now she's refusing to cooperate. Detectives are retracing every mile of that haunting drive, collecting surveillance footage, questioning witnesses who saw the pair together before Melodee was gone. Search teams scouring highways, fields, and rest stops for any sign of the missing girl. What happened on that cross-country journey, and why won't her own mother help find her? Extremely frustrating case. You know, this is a 9-year-old girl, and her mom is saying absolutely nothing. I want to walk through a timeline here to get a better feel for how this all transpired. We start in October 7th, and that's when Ashlee Buzzard took her 9-year-old Melodee on a trip. And you see this video. This is at the car rental agency, and that's the moment that they're renting the car to take this drive. This is all October the 7th, okay? Now let's move ahead a couple days to October 9th. And October 9th is the last sighting near the Utah-Colorado border. This is a trip where they traveled across 5 states in just 3 days, driving to the middle of the country and driving back. Ashlee, during the course of this, used multiple license plates. She changed the plates on the rental car, put on a New York plate, had the California plate when she rented it, put a New York one on at some point, and then put the California plate back on afterwards. October 10th is the end of the trip, and this is when Ashlee returns without Melodee. So you can see that from the 9th to the 10th is really the important time frame here as to when Melodee actually goes missing. And then it's on the 14th when really the investigation begins and Melodee is reported missing. And again, this lack of cooperation, we flash forward to November 7th, and that's when mom, Ashlee, is arrested and taken into custody. Now, the reason they're locking her up and taking her into custody is not for the disappearance of her daughter. It's for what they call an unrelated charge. So I want you to take a listen to an officer from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. They're the ones leading this investigation, along with the FBI, obviously, is in on this as well because of all the interstate travel. Here's Raquel Zick. Take a listen.
We have been in constant and consistent contact with Ashlee, of course, asking, you know, the where is Melodee questions consistently. She does still remain uncooperative.
Okay, uncooperative. So it's difficult to peel back the layers of this, but I'm going to begin tonight with a question that we have not talked about, but I think is really important. It could be, you know, answer a lot of things for us. And that first question tonight is, why did Ashlee Buzzard take off with Melodee? Was there something happening at that moment? Why then? What's going on in her world, in her life? Here to help answer that question is the Scripps News Group reporter, and I say the reporter, who's been on top of this story from the beginning, Crystal Bermudez. She is joining us from out there in Santa Barbara County, and also with us, licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Jamie Zuckerman. Thank you both for being here. Okay, Crystal, this is one of those questions I ask, which is difficult when someone's not cooperating. But you have been on this story from the beginning. What have you been able to glean about what's going on around this time period that would perhaps motivate her to take this trip and just take off with Melodee?
Well, this case involves a minor, a 9-year-old little girl, as you've been emphasizing, Vinny. And the biggest question we all want to know is, where is Melodee? From what I've been able to gather, and as to why did they take this road trip as far as Nebraska, make a stop in Kansas on the return trip, and then for the mother to return back alone without the little girl, it still remains a big mystery, really. It's hard to really pin a why or a motive as to why she took her daughter on a 3-day trip, and now we don't know the whereabouts. There was a lot of activity that happened in between that trip. The whole disguising her daughter. She as well is seeing herself with a wig on. So really trying to pin down the why. Why did she take off with Melodee? I think that's something we're all hoping to figure out pretty soon.
Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, so there's obviously several possibilities, more than several possibilities in all of this. We know there is some level of mental health problems that she's been dealing with, but even just taking it beyond that, could the purpose potentially for taking this trip to create some sort of ruse to do something horrible to her daughter, and she's just looking for a way to not do it at home or to have an explanation for it? I don't get it, because this trip was like almost to nowhere.
Yeah, the trip itself, but also the fact that as a mother, she hasn't spoken out. There's been no pleas for help. There's no searches. There's no posting on social media. She has been uncooperative and just uninvolved, almost unenthused. So, yeah, I mean, it could very well be, and I've said from the beginning, it's either to hurt her daughter or hide her daughter. We don't know. Could it be that she, for her selfish reasons, no longer wanted to care for her child? We know there's a history of neglect, and she figured that this whole trip and the disguises and all of that was just a way, as you said, kind of to distract and be able to harm her away from her house, away from family members. It could be something mental health related as far as paranoia or some kind of psychotic break. We just don't know. All we know is how she's acting now, which is very odd and very inappropriate.
Crystal, I know you've spoken with family members, members of the father's family, and people that are concerned. Did anyone ever mention any prior incident where she just kind of like left town and just took off?
That's a good question, Vinny. Actually, as I've been very active in the community there along the avenue on Mars Avenue, I've been speaking to neighbor about what they've noticed in the past when they've seen Ashlee and Melodee and what their dynamic looks like from afar. And typically, most of us don't know what's happening next door in your neighbor's home. But one neighbor, her name is Savannah Thomas, was telling me about an instance where she had gone to the park and had seen Melodee and her mother there. And the whole time, it was a strange interaction between Ashlee and her daughter, right? Melodee wanted to play, as any child would when they're going to a park. And she's asking her Mom, I want to play, I want to play. And she describes Ashlee looking as if she was in distress and immediately brushed her off. Savannah, who has children herself, tells me that she saw what was happening, that her daughter was very enthusiastic. So she quickly interjected and told Ashlee, hey, your daughter can play with my son. To which then Ashlee responded, oh no, she doesn't get along well with other children. She has autism. So it was a very strange interaction, because there was this neighbor here who realized her child can play with her child as well. And she immediately shut the door on this neighbor, and she remembers that interaction pretty vividly. And now, since this case has been unfolding, she said that really stood out to her when she remembers that trip to the park that was, I believe, about almost 3 months ago now.
Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, what do you think of that and the fact of how Melodee was sort of isolated from family, from other children? She wasn't going to public school. She was, homeschooling her daughter, if she was actually doing that, or, keeping her from going to traditional public school.
I think you can look at it in two ways. It could be more mental health related with a paranoia, where she doesn't trust anyone outside. She thinks that people are out to harm her. Or what it could be is isolation. When somebody isolates you from the outside world, when you are not coming in contact with other children or other family members, you end up having to depend on the one person that you're with to define your reality. And that can be a really scary place. So it could be that this need to isolate her was very, very much a control effort to keep her close and to keep her scared, and really to just, keep her constantly in her, in her grasp.
And Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, what do you think would be the best way to try to get Mom, Ashlee Buzzard, to actually speak here and provide some information?
Yeah, you would hope that as a mother she would do that. I haven't seen that from her. I haven't seen any indication that she intends to do that. So, I don't think psychologically that there's anything they can do. I think at this point she would have spoken.
All right. Big thanks, Dr. Jamie Zuckerman. Great to have you on the show. Crystal's going to stick around. Coming up next, what do we know about Ashlee Buzzard?
We want answers! We want answers!
The Court TV podcast will return.
Ashlee, it's Karina. I just want to see if you're okay. If Melodee's okay, how you guys are doing. Do you have the time to speak with me? Wait, this is my number right here. If you ever want to talk to me, I want a relationship with Melodee, please. Please, Ashlee. Is she okay? Are you okay? I did ask her if Melodee is okay, as well if she's okay, but she did not answer. I feel sad, I wish she would have just told me, is she okay? That's all I want to know, is if my sister is okay.
That's Melodee's sister from her father's side, her half-sister from her father's side. Again, going to Ashlee's house, trying to find out what's going on, and Ashlee completely avoiding her. As we mentioned, Ashlee Buzzard has been arrested, unrelated charges, but we took a look at the booking info. Let's take a look at that right now, because you can always try to get something from it. And what's interesting, when we look on it, and it says occupation, unemployed. Unemployed. So, she lives in a house, was raising a single daughter. And what's going on here? I need a clearer picture. It brings us to the next question in our investigation. What do we know about Ashlee Buzzard? All right, she's unemployed, but what do we know? Where's she getting her money? What does she do? What's going on with her? Still with us, Scripps News Group reporter Crystal Bermudez, and also joining us, missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher. He's also a search and rescue pilot and ground search technician. Great to have you both here. I wanted to put this up because I found this interesting as well. A report on Ashlee's credit card debt. This is from a local news outlet called newshawk.com. In the past year, debt collectors have filed 3 cases in Santa Barbara County Superior Court against Ashlee Buzzard, but struggled to present the paperwork to her. The most recent case, filed in May by Capital One NA, was dismissed without prejudice. 3 cases have sought a total of $9,000. And I think one of the issues with these lawsuits is they can never serve the papers on her because they never seem to find her. Crystal, this is baffling to me. She lives in a house. What do we know about her? Does she work? Did she make money at any point? Do we know anything about sort of her professional background, if she had one?
Yeah, I think when you look at those court records that show she has been involved in past civil cases with Discover Bank and Capital One, those really highlight the financial pressures she was facing. When I did have a sit-down interview with her mother, Lori Miranda, she told me that she recalls there were moments when they would receive applications to sign up for credit cards, and Ashlee would immediately grab those applications, fill it out, and obtain credit cards. So she does have a past history of not making the most financial responsible decisions, but again, we're seeing that this is showing this ongoing financial pressure she had been facing throughout the past and finding ways to have money.
Steve Fisher, how important do you think this issue is in trying to figure out, let's begin first, like her financial situation and what's going on in the life of this single mother as we try to figure out what happened to Melodee?
Yeah, I think it could show that she felt Melodee was kind of the last thing she had left, and if she's dealing with mental health issues, and especially if she has this paranoia, this fear of government and creditors and the school system and maybe trying to take Melodee, this could be a reason why she's fleeing. She could say, she's the last thing I got. She's all I got. She's isolated her, and she's an isolationist herself. And that could be the reason why she takes her wherever she takes her. It could just be running from, these problems and these threats that she's perceiving, which some are real.
So Crystal interviewed a couple of times Ashlee's Ashlee's mother, Melodee's maternal grandmother. Let's take a listen.
He said, "Did you know that your granddaughter was missing?" And I said, "Missing?" He goes, "When's the last time you talked to your daughter?" I said, "I don't know, 2 years, a year and a half ago." The psychologist that I was seeing said, I said, "Should I be keeping these things? I keep buying them for her for Christmas and her birthday." She said, "If you keep them for her, she'll know that when she was gone, you were thinking about her. So that's why I keep them." And sometimes I wonder, am I going nuts, right? About 15 minutes later, a sheriff calls me. He says, "I'm at your daughter's house in Orchid, and I was just getting ready to take your granddaughter Melodee with me to CPS because we're getting ready to take your daughter to the hospital." The house was in disarray. There were raw eggs in pans. There was rotten food in the fridge that I think she was trying to give my granddaughter.
So, Crystal, in your discussions with Ashlee's mom, Melodee's grandma, and others, did you get any sort of a picture for who Ashlee is? When you meet someone, you're going to describe them, right? If someone's talking about me, oh yeah, he's that guy on court TV. He loves to play pickleball. He spends time on the weekends doing this and that and the other thing. Did you get any feeling or any flavor for who this woman is, Ashlee Buzzard?
Right. Well, Lori and her daughter, Ashlee Buzzard, they do have a bit of a tumultuous relationship, I guess you could describe it as. And really what Lori had highlighted to me was that her daughter kind of went against the grain with her mother. She didn't really do things that I guess as a mother you would hope your children to do. So that's the best way she describes her, right? She describes her as someone who always kind of went against her wishes in a way. But the main thing she really did emphasize to me was her mental struggles, how it separated them even further apart. And that's why she took this a year and a half up to 2 years without communicating with her daughter, because that's how she describes Ashlee, is someone really hard to understand. And during this encounter that I've had with Lori, she really made it a point to me that it was really hard for her as her mother to see how this trickled and played into with her granddaughters. Ashlee does have an older daughter named Destiny, and she did lose custody of her. And she recounted to me the times when Ashlee was raising even her oldest daughter, and Melodee was just born, that it was a very difficult thing to witness because she saw just how much influence she had on her oldest daughter alone, that she never wanted to get in the middle between the two if there was ever something that stood out to her and she didn't agree with.
Steve, how difficult is it? You're searching for someone who's missing, and the person that holds the key has mental health issues. How do you sort of navigate around that to try to figure out what happened and try to get to the bottom of all of this?
It is incredibly difficult, and I think that's the the game that the FBI and Santa Barbara Sheriff's been playing on whether to actually arrest her or not, because what you got to do is try and get in that mindset. You're not going to. The chances of getting a moment of clarity out of them are so remote that you really got to kind of try and play in their world and try and get them to think that you understand, where they're coming from. But, we just need to, figure this piece out so we can help you get, what you need in the end. Because the chances of her, getting her on meds in time or having some, just moment of clarity are rare. So you really, it comes down to, can I make this person believe that I can, they can connect with me, and if they can't, then they have to go to the pressure campaign, which is I think they just flipped to with the arrest. But it's not a good situation.
No, not at all. Crystal, I want to show you a photo that we grabbed off of Google Street View. This goes back to 2023 of the address. And sometimes you can capture something, or Google Street View captures something. And in this case, it looks like there's two people in front of the house. The people involved in all of this. I think it looks like Melodee, but I don't know. This is from 2023. What are your thoughts about who this could potentially be? Because you got two images here, one obviously an adult and one a child.
Yeah, if we're referencing 2023, just today, Lori did share a photo to me of Melodee just 2 years ago, back in 2023. In this image, Melodee does look a little significantly younger, not like a 9-year-old. But from just that image alone, it is a bit blurry. It is hard to decipher who exactly is in that photo, but it's possible that it is Melodee. As far as the adult next to that child, there's a possibility it's either Lori, her grandmother, dropping something off, or it could possibly be, it looks like they were still in communication from my understanding with Lori. She just sent me that photo, like I said, from 2023 with her and Melodee. But it also could have been Ashlee Buzzard in this photo as well. I have learned that she went through a major weight loss. I'm not sure if that's a critical detail to know about this, but she was at some point from what her mother shared with me, on medication for weight loss as well as her other mental issues.
Interesting. Okay, both our guests are staying with us. Still to come, the most important question: where could Melodee be?
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the disappearance of 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard, a little girl being raised by a single mother, Ashlee Buzzard, who won't tell anyone where her daughter is. Here's the story. From California to the plains of Nebraska, the disappearance of 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard has become a race against time. Her mother, Ashlee Buzzard, was supposed to bring her daughter home safely, but now she's at the center of a baffling mystery. Authorities say Ashlee rented a car, drove east, and returned alone. When investigators pressed her for answers, she grew evasive, declining interviews, dodging questions, and offering no explanation for her daughter's vanishing. The silence has only deepened suspicion. Detectives are following digital trails, vehicle logs, and tips pouring in from across state lines. Meanwhile, communities from California to Nebraska pray for answers and cling to hope. Did something happen on the road, or is Ashlee hiding the truth about what really happened
to her daughter, Melodee Buzzard.
She knows the answer, and she's not think about this for a second. Again, put it in perspective. Like it's your 9-year-old girl. You know exactly what you did. Whether you handed her to someone, left her somewhere, did something terrible, and you're not giving up that information, and you may never give up that information, this could end up being an unsolved mystery at this point. I want you to take a look at this. This is a map we've gotten from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff. It shows the route from Green River, Utah, back to Lompoc, California, in Santa Barbara County. A significant part of the trip, because remember, in terms of the timing of it, they've narrowed the time from the 9th to the 10th. So this is like the final leg on that return trip. Like they went to Nebraska, went down to Kansas, and then got back on the route, and then they are both coming back towards California. So that brings us to the next question in our investigation. With the geography and the time narrowed, where could Melodee be? It's a little more limited. Now, initially we're going from California out to Nebraska. Now I think it's a little tighter what we're looking at here. Back with us from Santa Barbara County, Scripps News Group reporter Crystal Bermudez, and also still with us, missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher. Okay, Steve, I want to put a couple more things in the mix here. I want to take a closer look at that border. Now, again, what they're saying is that she was last seen near the border between Utah and Colorado. And I want to point out 2 cities that we have on this map. And the 2 cities are Grand Junction, Colorado to the right, Green River, Utah to the left of the map. And the direction of travel is from the right to the left. That's the way heading back to California. Now, I also want to take a look at this interview that was done by KUTV. They interviewed a gas station employee at the Phillips 66 station, which is in Grand Junction. This employee says that she saw Ashlee on October 9th at 5 p.m. A reporter at KUTV, KUTV2 News, spoke with her on the phone.
It was really, really freaking weird because she just opened the door at the store and then said, "Did you guys know you have a whole bunch of kittens out here?"
Matthew said the woman then got in her car with a woman with purple hair. She guessed to be around 30.
I kind of walked towards the door going, "What the crap was that?" when they left and noticed that they had a California license plate.
And the California place, that's accurate. So, Steve, listening to that information, how important of a lead is that? And it's somewhat consistent with what Santa Barbara is saying, is that they're last seen near the border of Utah and Colorado on the Colorado side.
So I was looking at that earlier, and I originally thought the same thing, and then I watched the interview a couple times, and I ran that address. That's actually Junction, Utah, on the 89. So that means she got off the 70, went down the 89 instead of the 15. And so that would mean this is after she's spotted with Melodee, and appears to, according to this lady, with another adult. So, but that's actually on the 89.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
and earlier I thought the same thing.
Right.
But I pulled that out in the commercial or in the spot, and it's actually Junction, Utah.
Okay, so it's further west, but then is it south of 70 or is it north?
Yes.
South of 70?
So it's heading south, and that goes to northern Arizona, which they said that she went through as well. So the question is Melodee not with her already at this point? And if so, do we have to back it up there? Why, and also I don't know why they're starting that map at Green River. Now, maybe it's not because it's not a dynamic map, and I know they've added some things to it, but it's very confusing, and they just got to be more forthright on the information they have, because they need the extra eyeballs out there.
Yeah. So,
I do think very good chance.
Crystal, so we've been listening to obviously the stuff you're reporting and things that we've heard from Santa Barbara County. It just seems they're a little vague in giving us some of the specific cities. Have they been vague, or have they given us a little bit more and I'm just not picking up on it?
Yeah, Vinny, I actually reached out to that gas station employee as well, just to see if they were open to sharing some more of those details that was in that report, but they did decline to comment, unfortunately. But I did speak with Tom Parker. He's a former FBI assistant special agent, and he used to work at the Los Angeles County area, and he was telling me that this is part of the ongoing investigation for once FBI does get involved, and they don't want to give away any evidence or hinder the investigation if they're sharing each and every little detail. Of course, I've been curious to know even the spotting of Melodee at the Colorado-Utah border, where it's believed to investigators are saying that's the last confirmed sighting of Melodee. So I've been curious to know if they would ever release that video. But Vinny, the interesting thing is that right now, with the filed imprisonment charge that Ashlee has, she has a $1,275 bail bond. So what was really interesting to learn today from a local attorney here in the area was that once that $1,275 bond has been put in place, and we're going to find out more details on Wednesday during the hearing, they're going to want to know where she's going to, essentially, from his words, pony up the money, right? If we're seeing money to make up that bond from a state in Kansas or Nebraska. So that could give maybe further indication as to who she may know further out if she does get money to make bond later on, in a couple of days on Wednesday.
Very interesting. Let's go back to the map, and we'll take a look at some of the other towns that are along this potential route, although it could be completely different if you're going down, right, down to Junction, Utah. But some of the other towns here west of Grand Junction, you have Mack, Colorado, which is very close to the border, Cisco, Utah, Thompson Springs, Utah, Crescent Junction, Utah. Now, let me ask you, Steve, is Crescent Junction different from Junction also? Or is that the one we're talking about?
It is, but it's still in play because she would have still been on the 70 at that point, I believe. So, you know, they're all still, all those, especially like Mack, Colorado, because, you know, they seem to stress the point that the last time they were seen together seems to be very close to the border, you know, and so that's where the focus has got to be.
Yeah, I'm still confused. There's a chance she's alive. What's the feeling you're getting, Crystal, from law enforcement and people you're speaking with? Do you get a sense that they think they're looking for a girl or they're looking for a body?
Right. Well, today, speaking with the former FBI assistant, Tom Parker, like I mentioned, he said it was very alarming to him. Even that clip that we've seen of Ashlee removing the posters from the home, he was describing to me that should have been very alarming and stood out to law enforcement, depending on how they have been approaching and seeing this investigation. He told me by now a mother whose child is missing should be in distress and pleading for the public to weigh in on how to find her daughter. But to me, it seems like they're really treating this as a missing person, even though she's had these unrelated charges put against her. They are still, again, really nailing that this is a ongoing missing person investigation. And you can only hope that we end up with a positive outcome and that she is still alive. But only time will tell at this point, and whatever Ashlee's open to sharing, if she ever does.
If she ever does. And Steve, going back again to that one tip from the gas station, the description of the second person was someone with like purple hair, right? That's likely a wig, right? And we know that Ashlee loves wigs, and I'm wondering if this little girl, could have been mistaken for a 30-year-old if you put a wig on her and she turns a certain direction. What are your thoughts about that potential, or do you think we're looking for another adult who may have some really important information here?
You know, just to be honest, I think they're both possibilities, of course, because when you're looking at a kid, you don't think they're going to be wearing a wig. But I also think that, you know, the way that the mother is being so defiant and doesn't seem to care at all, I think is actually kind of a hopeful sign that maybe, you know, she knows that, you know, this isn't a homicide, right? And so hopefully, you know, maybe she's got a very tiny orbit of people that she trusts, and this person is in that. Maybe it's like a sober citizen type of situation, and you know, she's found somebody, and this person has something, or is helping her in some way, and hopefully that's the situation, and it's just mental health driving this whole thing. You know, but I do think there's possibility just by how defiant she is. She doesn't look like someone that's scared of being prosecuted for murder.
Yeah, that's a great observation, Steve, and really that's best case scenario in all of this. Steve Fisher, great to have you. Thank you so much. Crystal, sticking around. Coming up next, what do these charges against Ashlee really mean?
You need to tell them where the baby is. You need to tell them who's setting all these things up for you. I know you're not doing it.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
He said, "Did you know that your granddaughter was missing?" And I said, "Missing?" He goes, "When's the last time you talked to your daughter?" I said, "I don't know, 2 years, a year and a half ago."
We haven't seen her in over 4 years due to the mother not allowing the family to see her. She has a beautiful smile. She's very friendly, very loving, very welcoming. She loved to be around her family.
And she's listening. We love you. We're here for you. And we just want you to be happy and call me. This is my baby boy. And he's gone, and she was just a baby. But here, I took this picture at the hospital. I walking in, and he said, Mom, wait, Mom. I know your daddy's watching you from heaven. I love you, baby.
Family members, remember, in this case, Melodee's dad passed away when she was just 6 months old. So all the family members on the dad's side, very distraught by all of this. They lost her father, and now she seemingly is gone as well. But Ashlee is now in custody. She's been arrested. Let's put this up. This is what she's been charged with. Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office says Ashlee's charges are unrelated to the search for Melodee. The felony charge is false imprisonment. The allegation is that she, quote, prevented a victim from leaving a location against their will. And investigators are not saying anything else. And that brings us to the final question in our investigation for this hour. What do these charges mean? And what do I mean when I ask that question? Like, what do these charges like really mean? Back with us, Script News Group reporter Crystal Bermudez, and also joining us, former federal prosecutor, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani. Nima, from your perspective, what are these charges? They've now arrested her. She's in custody. What do these charges really mean?
Well, Vinny, what they really mean is a leverage play by law enforcement. Obviously, with all due respect to Tyler Brewer, the victim in the case, this is all about Melodee and finding her and making sure that she's safe. So, but I mean, obviously they're different cases. Law enforcement says they're not related, so I take them at their word. Let's talk about the false imprisonment. It's a wobbler under California law, which means it can be a misdemeanor or a felony. In this case, it's charged as a felony. That means there's significant restraint. And in addition, if you look at the complaint, it says that there was planning and sophistication. So they're really trying to leverage this case to really not only arrest her, and the fact that there's a $100,000 bond shows me that it's significant. It does carry a potential 3-year sentence in state prison, but obviously what law enforcement is trying to do is work out some sort of deal where Ashlee identifies where Melodee is, dead or alive. I think that's the plan here.
So, Crystal, have we learned any more about the charges and the circumstances surrounding them?
Yeah, Vinny, we have learned some more details. So this incident allegedly occurred on November 6th out of Lompoc. The victim who filed these charges says he knew Ashlee for many years ago, and that he stopped by the house, and we spoke with the man who reported the incident, and he believed that at some point while he was there visiting her, that she threatened him with a box cutter and didn't want him to leave the house. So that's the latest information I can share and that we know right now.
That's kind of scary. Nima, that's kind of scary if she's in that moment going to a box cutter. That makes me a little more fearful for what could have happened, and we don't know, to her daughter.
No question. And if that's true, that's not just false imprisonment, Vinny. That is a criminal threat. That's also a potential felony under California law. And it's assault. So you don't actually have to batter someone, but if you threaten to do so, that's a textbook definition of assault. So there's multiple felonies here. Obviously, the false imprisonment is preventing him from leaving. It's interesting because the complaint says that there was some planning, some sophistication here. That leads me to believe that it wasn't just an incident where Ashlee lost it and she pulled out a box cutter. So obviously I believe the reporting from Scripps and Crystal. I'm sure that's accurate, but it seems like there's a lot more going on here and some potential additional charges that Ashlee may be facing if that's all true.
It's also interesting, Crystal, because most of the time when people knock on her door, or she doesn't answer it. She wouldn't open it. She doesn't want to talk to anyone. And obviously she's been able to dodge these civil lawsuits as well. They can never serve her. So it's kind of interesting that someone was able to get inside the house.
Yeah, from what neighbors were telling me when I recently visited just this past week, they did recall seeing this gentleman come to the house pretty frequently. So everyone really had this question of, who is this guy? We've never seen him come around before. So it was interesting to see that I'm not sure, I can't confirm that this is the same gentleman that neighbors say that they allegedly has seen come repeatedly to the house, but it appears that that's what they were trying to get at, that it was the same guy coming over and over and over again. And from what we're learning from the district attorney office is that this incident took place on November 6th. That's kind of matches along the same timeline that neighbors were saying they kept seeing this gentleman coming by the house.
Yeah, and that could potentially be a lead. It's an unrelated charge, but he's there after Melodee is missing, so perhaps he may have some information. Crystal Bermuda, Scripps News Group reporter. Make sure you're following her on social media and watching everything that she does. She's on top of this story. Nima Rahmani, great to have you here as well. Thanks so much. Melodee Buzzard was dealt a tough life. It all goes back to when she was just 6 months old. That's when her dad tragically died in a motorcycle accident. It was also at that time when family members say her mom, Ashlee, began to exhibit signs of mental instability. And now here we are, more than 8 years later. The question is, did that tough life end at age 9? Or is Melodee still alive? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.
There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.